Welcome everyone. Today's podcast, whatever you want to call it, during these times is going to be about the Worthing College Academy of Sport in terms of the A-level PE provision that we have at the college. In terms of today, I'm joined by Chris Turner and Mark Rugman, who are the main lecturers on A-level PE. So the aim of today is for you as students, parents, carers to get an insight into how the course is run, what are the main elements of it, maybe little nuggets and tips to support you, especially during this time, which we know is difficult. So we hope that all of your family, friends, etc. are safe and well. While I'm setting up the screen, it'd be great, chaps, if you just give yourselves a brief introduction to the world in terms of what you do and the great job you do at the college.
Cool. Hi guys, I'm Chris Turner, so subject leader for A-level PE and sports science, and teach across both of those courses, focusing on psychology, sports massage and skill act.
Hi, I'm Mark Rugman. I teach on the anatomy side of the course and also the coursework element to it. So I've been teaching PE for about 15 years and I know all aspects of the course similar to Chris, so we've got good insight into the PE programme.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys and girls listening, you know, there is some top level expertise on this course, especially with the A-level being a linear qualification now, which changed about, I think 4 years ago now. You know, it is very important to have you know, high level expertise through the department, and especially on this course. So, you know, basically what these chats are about, we're doing them in all our different courses we offer, is basically just to give you the information. Off the back of that, then we'll develop some more subject specific stuff. We will maybe link to basically what you want. So what information do you want from us? But we thought as a foundation, it'd be really good just to give, you know, the relevant information on each course that we cover. In terms of the A-level, this is probably for parents in particular, you know, the traditional A-level subject that you're potentially used to. Again, I think the big thing for us as staff, and Chris and Mark will comment on this, I'm sure, is kind of that jump from year 11 to A-level, from GCSE to A-level. You know, we need to bridge that gap, I think, and especially in these times. So hopefully some of the advice that we provide today will be really important. So chaps, just before we go into the nuts and the bolts of the course, just what are your thoughts on kind of that jump between GCSE and A-level?
Yeah, it's a massive jump, and it's proven both in the way it's taught and the assessment. So obviously, although practical's worth 30% of your final grade on A-level PE, it's really important to understand that 70% of your grade is determined across 2 exams. And obviously where the course, as Dave said, is linear, that's a two-year course with 2 years worth of teaching. And then you've got 2 exams at the end of those 2 years to prove yourself for that 70%. So your majority of class time and contact time with myself and Mark will be in the classroom learning theory. And that's a massive jump from what you guys would have experienced doing BTEC sport in school, level 2, or also doing GCSE PE. Mark, anything else on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. So just the GCSE changed a few years ago, and it probably changed for the better for A-level. It's always been very theory driven. Now it's even more theory driven. So, you know, just looking at some of those myths, you know, it used to be like, oh yeah, if you're a really good county or national champion or whatever, that's going to get you an A-star in A-level PE. Well, that's not the case. So, you know, it is 70% theory, like Chris said. So it's a big focus on that part of it. So we have a wide range of people performing, from club level performers to, you know, national athletes. And I just think it's vitally important that you are, for the practical side, you are playing still. You know, you are playing in a club, you are still playing at county, you are still playing, because that will help you with your assessment. But yeah, just going back to that, it is very theory driven.
I think just in addition to that, is the theory we teach is a massive jump between the stuff you would have learned at school to what you'll be taught within our classroom. There's stuff we teach that speaking to A-level biology teachers in Worthing College and psychology teachers at Worthing College. They're teaching the same stuff on their A-levels that we're teaching in the different parts of our course. So it really ramps up in terms of the quantity, but also the depth we go into with certain areas, especially things like sports psychology, for example, and biomechanics is another one.
I think this time is actually really important for Year 11 students, and we'll do at the end. I'll ask you for your advice to a Year 11 right now, and I think you potentially could really. This is a big opportunity to hit the ground running. I know that our A-level numbers in terms of people that have applied for A-level are high, which is excellent. Like all our other courses, but you could really hit the ground running by looking at these different resources that we're going to offer you, by looking at by developing your knowledge in these certain areas and getting a real structure to what you do day in, day out, in addition to your exercise, you being outside. And you could really hit the ground running, but we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't say that there is quite a jump. And I think, you get your student who's, as Ruggers said, outstanding, talented sports person, maybe in the olden days, A-star at GCSE PE, comes to A-level PE. There's a big difference. Not so much these days, but again, it's really important that you are going to need to work hard, and things like, I'm sure the guys will mention in a bit, the ISPs are quite important to the independent study packs, the weekly work. They are vital in terms of your performance. So just moving on to that then, really. Our exam board is AQA, which you may have knowledge of exam boards, you may not. But again, chaps, start with you, Chris. How does the course run? How does it run over 2 years?
Yeah, so each week you have 4 hours of lessons. So you have 2 with myself and 2 with Mark. And then across those 4 hours, we've got to get across a number of different things that are focused on 2 different papers at the end of your 2 years. So if you look on your screen on the left-hand side, you've got paper 1. That focuses on applied anatomy and physiology, skill acquisition and sport and society. So the majority of that will get taught across year 1, but some of it's also taught across into year 2 as well. Both of your exams on A-level PE, as I said earlier, get 70% of your final grade. They're both 2 hours. They both have 105 marks. And I think what's really important to add is that as part of that assessment, in each of those sections, you'll have an 8 and 15 mark essay question. Okay, and that's where a lot of our focus ends up going towards, because as you can tell by the math there, that it's a massive part of your assessment. So how to structure that, how to analyse, evaluate, apply, becomes really important. Within, obviously, myself and Mark have different specialisms, different experiences that we have that we apply to it. So my main focus is skill ac, sports psychology and sport and society. So things in skill ac are things like reaction time, looking at types of practices, stages of learning, into sports psychology, so things like motivation, arousal, anxiety, stress. Sports society is a great one, a bit different to what you would have done on GCSE PE. In the first year, we look more at like the history and development of sport, so everything from the Wenlock Games to how public schools and private schools have formed sport of today. And then in the second year, we focus more on sport now and things like commercialism, drugs in sport, technology in sport's a massive one at the moment as well. Mark, do you want to give an overview on anatomy and coursework for us?
Yeah, so applied anatomy is actually quite similar to GCSE anatomy. However, like Chris said, it jumps from being short answer questions to big essay questions and 15 markers. So that's where the big difference are. So you've got sections like cardiovascular, neuromuscular, respiratory, energy systems, all those types of things you probably would have covered, but just taken it on a little bit more. And then that leads on to exercise physiology. So how do you work with elite performers to get the best out of them? Which then leads us on to biomechanics, which is probably new to you guys. And it can be quite tough, but some people love that area of it, mathematical sort of type equations, etc., looking at performance. But yeah, they're the sort of main areas. And then I also teach a bit of sport technology as well. Both Chris and I sort of share that sort of part to it as well. And then moving on to the non-exam assessment. So that's where there's probably a big difference. So at A2, you can be assessed as a performer or coach, and it has to be in a full-sided version in one activity only. You then have to write some coursework on that about like your weaknesses in your performance. So if I give you an example, if you take someone like association football, an outfield player, they would have to show all their attacking skills, all the defending skills, and all their tactical skills in the video. And then for your A2 coursework, you write about a weakness in your defending skill and a weakness in your tactical skill. And then you would write that and submit it. And that's your 30% of the mark. But it's quite generous, the sports you can play. There's tons of different sports which you can be assessed in. We have had a few people assessed as a coach. However, as you can imagine, that's quite hard to coach someone in a full-sided version, take them out, coach them, and then put them back into another full-sided game. It's sort of like double the workload. So ideally, performers is the better route moving forward.
Obviously, yeah, sorry, mate. Obviously, with regards to the coursework, ruggers, at the Academy of Sport, we obviously video everything that we do. So that's quite straightforward. But what would the advice be to someone who maybe hasn't got much footage? What would you suggest they do? Would you suggest they maybe start now or? Yeah,
well, definitely. I would first of all get hold of your GCSE footage, because that can play a part. Of course, you're not playing at the moment, so it's vitally important that you keep yourself fit. So when the sport does reopen again, you can hit the ground running and perform at your best, and then start filming. If you are a summer athlete, you're probably going to struggle a little bit with the current situation. However, again, keep yourself fit, keep your options open. If you are a summer sport athlete like a cricketer, you probably may have to start doing some indoor stuff, when everything opens back up again, and then look at your options. But we can help support that. That's a bit more tougher. But yeah, footballer, rugby players, netballers, all at the academy. So that's filmed. Basketball players as well. So yeah, if you're involved at the academy, great. If not, just as soon as that window opens back up for playing, you just need to start filming. Grab an iPad, iPhone, camera if you can. Film it from different angles, and don't just rely on one video. I would say just make 4, 5, 6, 7 videos, full games or halves, and then we as a teaching group can then make the decision about which is the best one.
Good stuff. So again, and I think this is ringing true across all our qualifications, consistency has been key. In terms of the A-level PE success, to our knowledge, in terms of the last 5 years of data that we've collated, the pass rate's been 100%. Last year, or in terms of the last 3 out of 4 years, we've been in the top 15% in the country for A-level PE. And also last year, the high grades, A star to B, were at 81.8%, which is pretty good. So in terms of those, I know that everything that we say is what we deliver, but obviously I know people like data. So again, that's why we stuck the data up. But again, just quickly, chaps, before we move on to the other bits, what can an A-level PE student expect from you guys at Worthing College?
Good question. I would say they would expect to be challenged. Is a good first one. So we mentioned earlier is that obviously you have 4 hours of lessons a week, but you'd also be expected to do 4 hours outside the classroom as well. So one thing you should expect is to start to become an independent learner and to challenge yourself and try and thrive on the academic side of sport. I've been your age, I've ridden that wave of being okay at a sport, but then as I've got older and through experience, I can tell you now it's the theory that makes the difference of your grade.
How's doing their work? What about you, Rugged?
Yeah, just following on with what Chris said, we've got like a wealth of experience, so we can support in every aspect, and because we cover across different topics, again, if Chris is busy, I can help, or anyone in the sports department can help as well. And I think, again, going back to like having the academy on site, you get a lot of your footage and coaching support from that, so they're going to help with that non-examined assessment as well. But yeah, just have, we're quite proud of the fact that we're in the top 20% in the country, and we've been there for a few years now, so we're doing something really well. And I think it's just having that confidence that to ask those questions, because someone else will probably have the same question.
I think also, I've shut the window now, so you'll be able to hear me. I think it's also, think about, be ready to come into like an innovative and creative classroom. It may sound daunting that a lot of our delivery will be all, theory-based, classroom-based, but myself and Mark will get you up, get you active, doing stuff across the classroom. So just be prepared to be challenged in that sense as well. We're not going to stand and talk at you for 2 hours. That's not our style. It's not how we do things. Okay, so be ready to be proactive in that sense as well.
Say hello, Ralph, quickly. You're right. Right, off you go, mate. Well done. Yeah, so in terms of additional support, what obviously you're talking about the creative environment, which is excellent, which is outstanding. Again, what in addition again, talking about hitting the ground running, what can students do right now to maybe hit the ground running?
You're going to receive stuff from the college in terms of stuff you should get and stuff you should work through. One main thing I would suggest you do, and I've got one here to show you, and it's on the screen, is to buy this book. It's about £15 on Amazon, so it's not too dear. Basically, that book is revision notes that will cover across your whole 2 years worth of learning. There's an awful lot of resources and textbooks we could advise you to buy, but that is our bare minimum expectation. You'll get that as part of your getting ready for A-level PE in terms of to try and purchase that. Your other thing as well is I'm a true believer of trying to help people, especially thinking about progression in university. Anyone in our position or higher education position just want to see students that are interested and passionate about that subject area. So watch TEDx talks, listen to podcasts, watch a film that relates to sport. There's some great ones out there at the moment, especially on Netflix and stuff, that really question things like doping and drug taking in sport and stuff. So it's not a case of stick your head in the book and regurgitate it and write and revise and all that sort of stuff, but get passionate about your subject area. And to do that could be to look at the book, but it could also be, watch a film. It's quite simple. Ruggers, do you want to talk about Everlearner?
Yeah, just before I talk about Everlearner, I just wanted to just carry on with what Dave was saying, because we're in this sort of interesting time. I think there's a few things which you've got to learn, and I think what I mean by that is if imagine you were taking your GCSEs, you'd be sitting there, you'd be doing your revision, you'd be learning how to revise, to store knowledge, memory recall, etc. I don't know what the schools are doing. Dave may have a bit more of an insight than me, but you need to make sure that you are still doing that. And I think that's vitally important, because when you come to the college, one of the things we always analyse right from the start is, how did you get on your GCSEs? How did you revise? What can you do differently? And that's the constant conversation I have with students about how, that may have worked at GCSE, but that may not work at A-level. And I think it's vitally important that you still do that and still sort of try it or try different things. So like Chris said, get motivated. I think this is actually a good opportunity to be really intrinsically motivated to learn. And let's be honest, we're going to be really hot from September. If people are going, oh yeah, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, why didn't you? You've got all the resources to do that. So, well, hopefully you've got all the resources. And that then leads us on to one of the resources. I know some schools use it already, but the Everlearner is an online resource, a bit like what we're doing now. And he goes over all sort of topics in every aspect of PE. So it's a really good insight into different areas of PE, but also going over some of the stuff. So if you're sitting there in a lesson and you've gone, oh yeah, I'm sort of only got about 75% of that lesson, he may teach it in a different way, very much sort of chalk and talk way, but then that may be beneficial to you, and then you can set up assignments. So I think that linked with an exam pro, which is all sort of questions. I'm sure Chris can explain that a bit more, but those two really work really well. And I think when you come to college, that is going to help. And I think we just need to make sure you're catching up and all that stuff you may have missed or whatever we've gone over, and just make sure that you hit the ground running.
Yeah, exam pro is quite straightforward. It just enables myself and Mark to access every past question, mark scheme and examiner report for across the last 2, 3 or 4 years. So, but what we've actually done additional to this year, we did it before we knew the exams weren't going to happen, is we've created a PowerPoint for paper 1 and a PowerPoint for paper 2. And they're about 400 or 500 slides each, but it does include every single question. You click on a tab for a certain area, say anxiety in sport, and it will take you to the slides that have the questions, you answer them, then shows you a mark scheme, then shows you an examiner report. So we're extremely well resourced, but again, as Mark said, you've got to want to do it, but you still got to learn. And if you take a break now and go, I'll sort myself out in September, you're going to be struggling, especially on A-level PE.
That's with everything as well. So, you know, obviously a lot of people listening want to be in our academies, our nationally recognised academies. If you're sacking it off, if you're not doing your fitness, if you're not, you know, I know there's a lot of 5Ks going on around. You've even got me running them, but you know, just keep yourself. Well, this is a time to get yourself as sharp in the body and as sharp in the mind as you can. And believe it or not, there'll be some people that don't do it, and they may have been real success stories up until this point, and you might feel, you know, your confidence might be knocked a little bit in terms of X, Y, Z. But if you invest the time now, you honestly, I think from September, you'll go through the roof. Your development will go through the roof, and that's why I love working this kind of age group. I'm not going to touch too much on this because again, you guys have just provided such an excellent overview of the support that we provide. But basically, this is something that's across all our courses. We give up 1 or 2 hours or 1 or 2 sessions a week in terms of subject support and offering that support to students. Obviously, with our numbers, we can't necessarily timetable everyone in at the same time because our numbers are quite big. However, you know, we do target some, so we do tell people they must attend. But also it's used as a drop-in, and you know, those drop-in sessions are ones that are usually highly beneficial because again, it's about that, as Rugger said, about having that intrinsic motivation to want to be the best you can be, and wanting to be the best you can be can open so many doors for you. So again, this time is so important, and hopefully we can help you through these times as well. Guys, do you want to just brush on have a talk about standards briefly, because I know you guys use this word studentship quite a lot, which is you know, which to some might be quite new, but to all of us, it's something that is highly important in terms of our department.
Yeah, we established these standards right from the get-go, and it'd be nothing new to you compared to what you would have had expected from school. But I think the major difference is there'd be less chasing regarding it. It almost becomes a standard expectation. So being on time, having the correct kit and equipment, wanting to work hard in class regardless of what we're doing with you. So I might ask you to build a human pyramid as a warm-up. Ruggers might get you to blow into some balloons to talk about VO2 and stuff. So it's just being open-minded, and that working hard is, yes, in the classroom, but as I mentioned earlier, outside the classroom is really important. For every hour you have for me in the classroom, there'd be an hour of work to do outside the classroom. So across the subject, it's 4 in and 4 out every week. And Dave made a great point, and just, you know, let's be practitioners of what we're learning and what we're saying. So healthy body, healthy mind, you know, applying it every week, every lesson. Obviously, these are good times to talk about it in terms of making sure mentally and physically you're as sound as you can be. But it all goes back to, as Dave said, that term studentship. As soon as we're not doing those things, it gives the impression that maybe the course isn't exciting you, isn't right for you, etc., etc. So we set those standards, and if I was still in that building now with those lessons happening, we'd be enforcing them all year. And it's the same for Mark as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just to touch on that, and I know I'll keep going on about it, but just because you know, these sort of interesting times we're in, that's the big thing. I think everyone needs to switch back on at a certain point. And, you know, we've got an induction at the college, so we'll look after you in regards to that. But keep those habits going. I think if you've been revising well, keep revising. You know, if you're trying different things, keep trying different things and finding things which work for you. And just make sure, like, when you start in September, we're ready to go. You know, and like Chris said.
Perfect. Again, this probably deserves its own vodcast podcast. But it's a question we get asked a lot. So sports, so PE, you know, what can you do with it? And literally, I said in the others, and I'll continue saying all of them, you know, the world's your oyster. And I think the first thing you can do, and this time's really important, as we keep saying about, you know, have a think about what your real passion is, because, you know, I think we're fortunate enough. Yes, there's parts of the job that, you know, do I have to do this, do I have to do that? But all in all, we love what we do. And I think it's so important for students to go on and have a career in enjoying what they do. I mean, if you can do it in something that you're interested in and passionate in, then that's outstanding. So again, I suggest things like, you know, start researching now, and obviously university is the traditional progression route, but there are so many other progression routes now out there. Apprenticeships, there's the foundation degree at the college as well, which, you know, we're not going to go on too much about, but it's just the fact that give yourself the opportunity to open all the doors for you. So this is just a map of, you know, the examples of universities that students have gone to, whether it's they've done BTEC, whether they've done A-level. Also, our reputation now is such that people, universities in America want our students to come and study there, and also on academic scholarships as well as athletic scholarships. So, you know, there's plenty of opportunities. If you have a desire and a drive, and, you know, and we have that as well. So we don't want you to go. We don't want you to leave not knowing what you want to do, or not having a plan. You know, so that's something that really drives us as well. And we take great pride in, you know, in seeing people a few years down the line and being real successes in what they're doing. And that might be from, you know, being a high level athlete, but it might also be, you know, having a real stable family, great job, you know, roof over heads, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, it is almost beyond the qualification a little bit. So chaps, kind of what is your advice for, you know, progression routes? I know they haven't even come to college yet, but what kind of would the advice be?
It's quite tricky as well, especially, you know, everything sort of changed 2 or 3 years ago with how much people pay for university. Always used to be the case with sport of, if in doubt, go to university, find your way. But obviously now with the tuition fees what they are, I would only recommend going to university if it's something you need for the profession you want to go into. And now I'm going to totally be hypocritical and go against what I just said. And it's unfortunate that in sport, often a determining factor of who gets a job might be who has the highest qualification that goes alongside it. So although to be a personal trainer in a gym, you don't need a degree, actually having a degree in sport and exercise science, for example, will help you progress further beyond that. But I'm someone that does a lot with other students in the building regarding UCAS and progression and stuff, and key advice I always give them is research the course, must go to open days, must look at what that course actually gives you. So a good one for sport, for example, is you must look at the university and see what they're offering you in Easter and summer holidays. And that sounds crazy. You go, Chris, that's my time off. No, that's your time to get your level 1 coaching qualification. That's your time to get your PT qualification. Those are the things that you need to be employable once you leave college and once you leave university. So having that thought of what I'm doing and what my end goal is really important. But I can't express how many students we deal with don't know what they want to do. But unless you're researching each option, you can't say, well, I don't want to go to university, because you need to research it. Same with students going to America, apprenticeships, going into employment. You've got to research it to then find out whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah, hit the nail on the head there, Chris, right at the end. Just having that motivation to find out what you want to do is vitally important. We have so many kids sort of who know exactly what they do, where they want to go, fantastic, and they're absolutely driven to be successful. And those which aren't, you know, maybe needing help or support, fine, we can help support them. But if they stay quiet for their time at college in particular, you know, they haven't got that motivation, and then they're going to struggle a little bit. So I think, again, use this time to research a profession and work yourself backwards and find out, you know, do you need a university qualification? Great, yes. Okay, where can I go? Great. And then start to link in with, do you want to live away from home? Do you want to stay close? Has it got this? Has it got that? So, but yeah, we're all been there, so we all know the sort of difficulties it has, but research is the key thing.
It sounds weird in this current climate, but this is, this could be really turning its head into, I know it's a worrying time, but it could be for these individuals quite an exciting time in terms of actually, you know, watching things, reading things, speaking to people over like Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, in terms of, you know, if you know a physio and you want to be a physio, go and talk to him. Obviously you can't face to face, but talk to him on on FaceTime or something like that, or, you know, try and get as much information as possible to give yourself a real informed decision. So again, UCAS is the website. In terms of university, I think it's very important. I think one question I'll ask in a minute is kind of what combinations would suit PE with PE best. But again, please look at UCAS. If you want to go to university, look at the courses you want to study and look at the entry requirements. So does it require PE plus this and this subject, which some of our students do get. You know, they do come unstuck at times because they don't do this research. And then they're into their study and they're going, oh, but I need to study this. And then it becomes a bit more difficult. But we do try and make sure that they get there. But the quicker you can do this research, the better. Apprenticeships, we touched upon them. We deliver, or we have a hand in 4 or 5. Again, this is probably another podcast. But, you know, basically you get a qualification, you're paid on the job. It's apprenticeship wage. It's about, well, at the moment it's about £100 a week. But again, you would be work ready as well. There's also degree apprenticeships, but there's not any in sport, I don't think. But potentially, if this is a route you want to go down, so work, earn some money, and get a qualification, that'd be good for you. Finally, just briefly, I'm going to touch upon this. We're the only department in the college that runs courses from level 2. So GCSEs that you have been studying all the way through to level 5. So we deliver a foundation degree in sport, exercise and health science, which is a 2-year program, which allows you to top up a further year, 3rd year, to make it a full undergrad degree at another university. The first 2 years of the course are run in conjunction with the University of Chichester. They're also they're in smaller class sizes. It's a familiar environment. It's a safe environment. Again, you probably get more one-to-one work rather than being in a lecture theatre of 100, 200 people. So there's pros and cons for it. There's a work-based learning program linked to it, which we're now looking to link fully to our academies. So again, making our academies even stronger and giving you real industry experience in those fields that you like. But again, it's just another option, maybe if you're not as confident, or again, as Chris said about the amount of money that's flying about for tuition fees, it's slightly cheaper as well. So, you know, again, it's, for me, there's lots of opportunities for you out there. So just to conclude, fellas, it's been great chatting and great catching up, obviously. But, you know, a couple of things for me. First of all, you know, because obviously this would be A-level PE plus 2 other subjects. So kind of what other subjects would you maybe suggest that are quite a nice balance and mix? And secondly, what would the advice be to a year 11 right now? I know we've given quite a load, but if we were to sum it all up. So, Chris, you first, mate.
Yeah, so with subjects, the textbook is definitional. Like, answer to that is pick the subjects you're interested in, pick the subjects you're going to do well in. But we also have to advise you that, say, if you want to do physiotherapy at university, for example, most of them will require a science, and PE is not a science as such. So you would have to do biology alongside it. Common ones in terms of what students have done alongside PE: biology, psychology. Also had a few do sociology over the years, and also some do maths as well. But Ruggers, any other subjects you think off the top of your head? Business, a couple.
Yeah, business links in well. Had a couple of history, but yeah, I think like what Chris was saying, it's vitally important that you understand the physiotherapy one if you want to go down that route, and then just see the benefits of studying a biology alongside PE, because you know you're going to look at energy systems in a science, so you know and we study it as well. So psychology as well. So there's some key ones which link together quite well.
I think with that is saying to you in terms of if you are thinking about university or you want to add it to your list or take it off your list, look at the requirements. So if you type in any course, so say if you type in sport and exercise science, Bath University, there'll be a tab that says entry requirements. If you click on that tab, the universities make it really clear in terms of what you must have for that course. So obviously PE is going to be one of your choices, but are your other choices going to enable you to do what you want to do, or is it going to limit your options? So sometimes the courses you picked might limit them, and you've still got time to change if that's something you actually look into and think of. Or you might start going, well, I've picked this subject, but it's completely random and it's not going to help me. I just liked it at school. And you might start thinking about actually progression-wise, that's not the best choice. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so definitely research those entry requirements. But like you're going to invest some time for us between now and September for A-level PE, invest that time in your other A-levels, because one of the hardest things in our jobs being A-level teachers is trying to support a student that's loving PE but is struggling in another A-level, because you can get the best grade possible in one subject, but if you don't do well in those other A-levels, you're not going to get that progression you wanted anyway. So it's trying to be the best across your whole academic programme, not just one of them. Ruggers, advice for current Year 11s?
Oh, I just want to touch back on that coursework element to it. You know, I would say if you've got some footage because you submitted before our lockdown, defo take hold of that. I'd say keep your fitness up, like Dave was saying, because when, let's say sport all goes back to normal in September and you can start playing again, you don't really want any excuses of, I haven't been training for a while, I haven't done this. You know, you need to submit evidence straight away, and especially those summer sports athletes. I know I touched on it before, and I'm starting to think, oh goodness, what about the summer sport athletes we've got at the moment? But I would definitely, if you're a cricketer and that last, you know, they do have a couple of games in September or around a golf, get it in, because I think that's going to be vitally important. But yeah, just keep yourself fit and healthy, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. I think even when you get time, just do that bit of work into the subject. And if in doubt and not sure, mine and Dave's emails are down there. You can get in contact. We can send you something to read, watch, etc. And guys, I'm not asking you to read a textbook front to back. As I said earlier, anything, you know, podcasts, TEDx talks, films, videos, all good, and will all assist you in terms of your learning.
Yeah, as I say, great stuff. And I think it's important to, if you haven't, you know, I expect there's people struggling during this. So if they are, you know, let's start Monday, let's start fresh, new week. Let's start with routine. Let's start with looking into something that may excite. So again, chaps, I really appreciate you taking your time out to chat, and hopefully this has been informative to the parents, carers and students, and obviously there'll be more in the pipeline based upon hopefully what they want. If they want some experiences of classes, we'll show that, because I think again, you know, it's really important to make sure that everyone hits the ground running. So really appreciate your time, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.